And this whole job was supposed to start like the 1st of August. You know, we've never built a pipeline.
I knew that when I found out.
The thing is I have kind of built some pipelines. We built it so fast that they were already committed. Kevin didn't know until he's like, whoa, where'd those come from? We're like, gotcha.
Great radio.
What's up, guys? We got a special for you today on something brand new that Josh and I are doing, and now we got a new partner. This here is the data center king. They call him Kevin.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I'm going to cut that part.
Hey, first of all, this is like my first podcast back in how many?
Yeah, I know. You're like you're super busy. That's what I tell everybody.
Eric's been working me like a freaking I don't even know. I just been working.
Let's back up. How hard do you work in Napa?
Well, I worked in Napa too.
Okay. Here we go. So, guys, we got a special for you today. So we brought Kevin in. We want to introduce him. We have another guy as well too, but he's out today. But Kevin, I want you to tell everybody that's watching. Let's start with your background.
Hold on, let's get.
You want to do something different?
Yeah,
Oh, Josh has always got some better idea.
No, it's not better. But you know, we talk about doing the right thing. We talk about showing up on time. We're talking about, you know, all the things that you want to do when you start your own business, the things that, you know, that grows your business and builds loyalty between your customer and yourself. You know, it keeps your employees around. All those things led up to what we're about to discuss today on this podcast. I mean, Kevin here, he was one of our customers.
Yep.
And there's a cool story to this whole thing and how this all came about and the risk he's taken with us from the efforts and the persistency and taking risk and showing up and going above and beyond and doing what we say we're going to do and Eric's company said it was going to do. He's seen that and he can kind of tell you his story here throughout today this podcast, but he's had a lot of opportunities in life and he's taken this one and he can kind of go through that today. But Kevin, today we were talking about kind of like in the data center world. So if you turn on any social media app, any news station, the number one thing they're talking about, it seems like, including the presidency and the whole cabinet space and the Congress and the Senate and everything else, is freaking data centers.
AI.
And AI. And some love it and some hate it. And there's a lot of reasons to love it and hate it. And depending on what side of the fence you're on, and it depends on what your opinion is of it. So we love it. We're immersed into this world fully, and we're doing lots of millions and millions of dollars in revenue in this world, and we plan on doing way more than that here very shortly.
Yep. So kind of to the gist of how this thing started is you know, Josh and I have the on-call company, and we just been driving, and we've been talking to you guys about it, and you know, we've been continuing to grow, continuing to do the right thing, continuing to show up, continuing to get better people around us, and eventually we got into the data center space, right? And we got into it on this particular circumstance. It was by a failure of another company. So another company failed. They called us. They gave us an opportunity to come in there, replace all the assets, and it was a fair amount. It was a good amount of assets, right?
The shitters.
The shitters, yeah. So.
Yeah.
We came in there. We did what we said we were going to do. We showed up. We serviced on time. We serviced to a high level, right, over and over and over for about a year, right? Maybe a hair over that. And then essentially more opportunities started arising. And I've said this, I know, numerous times on this podcast, right? And I know it was a story I told about H.F. Sinclair, right, where I did the right thing. I continued to show up. I continued to get more business came out of it, right? So that was kind of our introduction into the data center space, right? There was some other little data center stuff we were doing, so it's not like the first one or anything, but it was our introduction into it. So kind of fast forward is we did what we said we were going to do, more opportunities started showing up, and then all of a sudden what started to be a large job, but not as large as what it's turned out to be, showed up on my doorstep. And a guy called me within your team, and he said, hey, can you do this? I'm not going to go into all the detail, but hey, can you do this? And the answer is always, yes, we can, right?
Well, we went from portable restrooms on that job and some other hand washing stations and a couple holding
Yeah.
tanks. And then he forgot one key moment of this. We went in there and performed, in my opinion, at a very high level. You can let us know if we didn't. I don't think you would be sitting here if we didn't. But we performed and started fueling all their critical components from gen
I forgot about
sets
that.
to their equipment to everything that keeps that place running on a day in and day out basis. And it was a nightmare. Let me get this straight. It was a nightmare. It was very compact and it was tight, and you're getting all these trucks and you're driving around these bombs around these billion-dollar data centers, and it had me freaking nervous all the time. And you're hiring these guys that are employees, and they have freaking gasoline and diesel and everything else on these trucks, and you're like, there's $2 billion in chips sitting right there, and I just can't wait till we get one spark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
and
a good
then
point.
if the gen set went down, it shut down the job, and these guys are making lots of money. How many people were on that job? I'm still on that job.
1,500 plus.
1,500 a day that were driving skid steers and driving man lifts and gen sets and all kinds of pumps and crazy stuff that we were filling up every day. So we went from portable restrooms to fueling business, sold the fueling business off, made a little bit of money on that, kept the portable restroom business, and then to what Eric was mentioning earlier, we got some random call sitting in our office together.
Yep. I think it was like, it may even have been past 5. I can't remember. It was later in the day. And I always answer the phone, put it on speaker, and he's like asking me these questions. And, you know, what he asked me was like, do you have any fuel trucks? And I was like, man, I don't. I was like, but hang on, but what do you actually need, right? And he was telling me what you need. I was like, well, you wouldn't want those anyways, right? And then essentially he kind of told me what the scope was. And we were like, yes, absolutely, we can do that.
We've been doing that for years.
Yeah, of course we can do that, right?
So I guess that's where I came in.
Yeah.
After that conversation, they came to me, and this was, we won't go into detail, but it was a big scope, unplanned, high risk, a lot of uncertainty. And our team had hired essentially on call. And when I found out about it, I had a mild heart attack.
The
I
shitter
said,
company.
Yeah, this is the shitter company. This is the porta potty company.
So
What are you doing?
Let's kind of back up, reel it forward a little, reel backwards a little bit. Kevin was a senior PM on that job, right?
Right.
So Kevin, the people we were talking to were like a couple steps down.
Right.
So the time it got, so Kevin taxed his crew to go find this and figure out a solution. They agreed to the solution, and by the time it went all the way up the food chain, which Kevin was probably one of the highest guys up the food chain, he found out they hired the shitter company to do a multi-million critical component of heating and cooling, water passivation. We'll go into this whole thing that we're starting on this job, and he about shit a brick.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went down.
So, thank God Kevin wasn't involved in the very beginning, because we probably wouldn't have gotten the contract.
100%.
So, the gentleman that, if you're watching this, that trusted us was redneck like Eric and I.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a redneck too, but I've been around data centers for 15 years, and I've seen what can go wrong, and I'm maybe a little more cautious, a little more reserved than some of our younger teammates that are just trying to find solutions, but you can't fault them for it.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to take a risk.
Yep.
Well, Kevin has not worked with us directly like your other teammates. You know, your employees below you have worked with us on
the
close
dumpsters
basis.
and fuel and porta potties weren't really in my day to day.
Well, what was your annual spending on the things that were underneath your scopes? What was the dollar figure?
Over $1 billion.
$1 billion,
Yeah.
yeah. $1 billion. So, yeah, we were billing out a cool 180 a month.
Yeah.
So the coolest thing to this whole thing is we started this conversation in June with your employee. They're like, hey, got the phone call. July rolls around, and this whole job was supposed to start the 1st of August. And we didn't tell you guys this, but to be honest with you, we've never built a lake tank. We've never built a pipeline.
I knew that when
The
I
good thing
found
is
out.
I have kind of built some pipelines, like lay down lines and stuff from being in the oil and gas industry. And I've been around lake tanks, and that's how we got where we were. But so the timeline, we haven't had a PO. Kind of give you instance. They say, hey, I was like, man, we need to know if we're going to meet your expectations. And you already said we're going to get this job verbally. I was like, we don't have PO. We have nothing. I was like, but you're expecting us to perform in 1 month.
Yeah.
So we were scrambling on the back end, finding solutions. So I was like, just send me an email. And my CFO is over here freaking out. He's like, you have no PO. You're about to spend $1 million, $1.5 million on this. No PO, no agreement, no nothing.
Well, that's where I was at. I see lake tanks, these giant Shamu-sized tanks with hoses, and I see all this showing up on site. And I know you guys don't have a contract. You have word of mouth, essentially, from an employee, which, we like to think is valuable, but legally it means nothing, right? You guys we're at a huge risk.
Yeah, we took a humongous risk. I knew, I was like, the name behind the opportunity, I was like, they probably got a little bit of money.
Yeah.
I think we looked it up the other day, didn't we?
$90 billion in cash.
I think it was more than that.
Well, they had like another few billion in receivables.
Yeah.
Just a little guy.
Just a little cash, yeah.
So we get these. So we have no PO. I said, just send me an email saying you're going to use me. I said, it's all I need. I've done this before. I've been around the oil and gas a long time. I was like, just send me an email. That will hold up. That'll be good for me. Give me some type of reinsurance. He sent us an email, said, deploy. And within 10 days, we had those lake tanks out there set up.
Yep.
And these aren't, what I mean by lake tanks, so just imagine an above ground swimming pool, but on a massive scale. They hold 2.1 million gallons per lake. We had 2 of them out there. So you have to assemble them. You got to build stabilized pad site, just like you do above ground pool for your rednecks that grew up like me. And then we had to build this pipeline with this complex monitoring system of stainless steel hose across roads, underneath bridges, and about a mile of pipe if you want to measure it all out. It's about a mile total pipe. We built all that in like probably 20 days or less.
I think it's less than that.
That was quick.
We built it so fast that they were already committed. Kevin didn't know until he's like, whoa, where'd those come from? We're like, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that.
A little strategery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our team says they have it covered, and I'm thinking it's the national mechanical contractor that we've hired. Big operation. No, it's the porta potty company. It's no big deal.
So we lived up to our name. We were on call that day.
We were on call.
You were.
And so we set up essentially a pipeline, a lay flat and HDPE pipeline system. I don't know how far exactly it was.
It was a mile.
Was it a mile long?
About a mile long.
So from the chiller headers, right, all the way with a couple frac tanks, everything piped in together. We got flow meters and all the shit, right? And we get everything done, and then then all of a sudden, like, it went from, and I don't want to say the numbers on here, but it went from a good job, we'll call it, right? And then they're like, well, we need to know, like, to plan, right? We need to understand how much water's coming, on what date, right? And they give us this Gantt chart. And we looked at this Gantt chart.
You can say the numbers. They gave us a few million gallons at first, and it was supposed to be spread over 120 to 180 days.
Yeah.
So we had to back in all the math because our trucks only hold 5460. And it was considered has waste. So our route to dispose of the waste back is about a 4-hour
turnaround.
4-hour turnaround. So 5,460 gallons, 4-hour turnaround. It's pretty easy. How many trucks you got? That tells you how many gallons you can haul off in a day, right? The issue was when we first did the calculation, we agreed to it. It was a few million gallons over 180 days, but we got this. Our backup, our insurance policy was the lake tanks.
Yeah.
Right.
So anything that we couldn't haul off, the lake tanks were going to eventually go up, and then there were some like segments in there they weren't pushing any water to the lake tanks to give us time to haul it back down, to draw it back down. Well, this whole process, and still to this day, is their calculations, because it's so new. There's no fault to the data centers. These things are. It's not like they've been building these things for 50 years.
Right.
It's not like apartment complexes and traditional building.
Yeah.
These are a lot of these called field engineering, right? They're building and they're calculating things on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. And they change different types of materials that they use, and they can't find this or that or the other. So everything is just ever evolving in the data center world day to day. And we could spend hours talking about how much these things evolve, right? And essentially, it goes from, like Josh said, 3 million gallons, and then it goes up to like 60 million, and then it goes like back down, and it's hitting all over the board.
60 million, and they reduced it down to 45 days.
Yeah.
I was like, 60 million gallons in 45 days? I was like, there's not enough trucks in the state of Oklahoma to do that.
Yeah. So it was nerve wracking. It was evolving, and finally it ended up where it was going to be somewhere around, I think they said 6 to 8, 6 to 10, somewhere in there.
And it's still evolving.
It is still evolving, right?
But we figured it out. My point is, we took a massive risk, and with massive risk, when you perform, sometimes you can get massive reward.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, the reward was the passivation, getting the contract, proving that we could do it. But the massive reward is what we're about to talk about with Javelin.
That's right.
Right.
Because you wouldn't be sitting here if your team didn't take the risk. It was like divine intervention of like how, why, and where you're sitting right now.
Yeah, it's really wild kind of how it went down.
Yeah,
I found out about it, and you guys being involved kind of past the point of no return. And, I had a lot of uncertainty and doubt. I've been honest with you about that. And you guys, squashed that, and you executed. And next thing you know, we're playing on the Korn Ferry Tour, and now I'm here, and it's it's crazy.
So if you don't know what the Korn Ferry Tournament is, it's a PGA Tour. It's like minor league of. They don't like saying that, by the way. So if you are,
it's the feeder league for the PGA. It's where guys go to get their tour card to go to the PGA Tour.
Yep.
And I did not lose one ball all day.
Yeah, right.
But you guys lost at least 60 balls.
I lost a lot of golf balls.
It was actually embarrassing how many balls you guys lost.
Well, you called me the night before, and I hadn't swung a golf club in well over a year.
We lost
my
so many
excuse.
balls.
And the funny thing is, though, Kevin does all this. We haven't even really started this whole project yet, right?
We don't even have a PO.
Yeah, and then Josh rides together with Kevin, and then I ride with my father-in-law, whom I invited, and then like it always happens. It's like Josh is talking to somebody, and next thing you know, they're doing their own venture, right? And you were going to go out because you kind of said something to Josh about, hey, I think I'm going to go out and do my own deal.
No, he was asking me all these entrepreneurial questions and kind of telling me his ideas. I was like, I didn't, don't take this the wrong way. I've been around a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of times they're just full of shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't have the balls to jump off, especially making the kind of money you were making.
Yeah.
And at the level that you worked your way up to, I mean, they just don't have the balls to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have all these financial obligations at home, which you do. They have all this other stuff going on, and they're just like, it's never the right time. So therefore, they look back on their 45, 50, 60 years old, and they're like, man, I never did it.
Yeah, 100%. That's where I was at. I had all the ideas and knowledge and experience, and just there's that level of doubt and uncertainty that you got to get over that, most people don't. They don't take that chance.
So I'm sitting there playing this whole day of golf, didn't lose one ball. Kevin was just bringing us down, losing balls. Eric was even worse. And we have this professional golfer on our team, and we're trying to look professional. None of us are professional. Kevin's wearing a camo hat, and I'm losing balls in the deal, and we're
But you didn't lose any balls.
Huh? Oh, I didn't lose any balls.
Yeah.
And we're drinking a lot. We're having a good time, and we still don't have a PO. And Kevin's my customer at this time. And I'm like, when you have your highest end of the customer in there, one of our big opportunities, I'm just like sitting there talking about, you need to drink, you need this and that. I still do that to this day. But point is, I was sneaking in there about, hey, man, we really kind of need that PO. We really kind of need that PO. Oh, yeah, what do you think it's going to be? I gave him a number. I was like, man, it'd be really nice to have that PO. My bank's asking. We got a couple $1 million on this thing. Already spent. The money's already spent.
Yeah.
I was like, we're about to start. He's like, I'll get you a PO. Fast forward,
Like 2 days.
finish off the day. He leaves. I'm like, man, Eric calls me on the way home. He's like, how you think it went? I was like, man, I think it went great. We're going to get a PO. And I was like, not only that, I do like him. I was like, he's smart. I think he's one of us. Fast forward to the next day. Kevin's like, hey, calls me. Or I call Kevin. He's like, oh, by the way, I quit. I said, you did what? He goes, I quit my job. I said, you quit your job? Come on, Eric. I was like, you wouldn't believe this.
Did you get that PO before you did that?
I remember it. And I was like,
quit his
oh, no.
job. I was like, he's like, he did what? He's like, gosh dang it, Josh, you do that to everybody. I was like, what is he going to do? He said, he's starting his own business. I was like, no. I had a heart attack when you quit that job.
Well, I was just so worried about you guys screwing up the operation. I didn't want to have to answer for it. So just get out.
That probably makes the worst things.
So, fast forward, he had this idea he was telling me in the golf cart, and if you don't mind, I'm going to discuss that little idea.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of time when I get around entrepreneurs, it's something, and I was one of them. So I'm not pointing fingers at Kevin or Craig's not here, or Eric, or any entrepreneur, including myself. When you grow up from a small town or grow up whatever environment, and you grow up with limited capital, you don't think big enough out the gate,
Right.
right? You come up with these ideas that you think they're attainable with the way you grew up and the resources you have around you immediately. You don't think big enough. When Kevin first had his ideas, he was telling me in the golf cart, and this is going to lead up to, kind of told you how our relationship started. Now we're going to discuss what he was discussing when he was starting his own business.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came over here, and we kind of really just messed him up and scrambled his brain when he came over here. So he was talking about, hey, I've over time, and you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, I have developed these relationships with very high-end professionals.
Yep.
And with the data center world, hyperscale all the way down to much lower size data centers, we can provide these resources, this manpower, a professionalism, and just be contracted, and we'll be like an employment agency for
Right.
temp contract professional people in certain skills.
Essentially consulting, which is a pretty common market.
It will make a spread.
Yeah.
That was his idea. Well, I said, hey, why don't you come over here and we just have a conversation? And I was like, how many of these people are you trying to get out of here? And he was kind of telling me, I was like, well, there has to be bigger numbers here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came up with this idea of, why don't we do all the mechanical flushing? We're very high. We're not experts, but we're pretty much experts in this field. We've been doing it for 20. Kevin has 21 years in the data center space.
Yeah, between myself and Craig, and mechanical is our background, full mechanical scope, all of your pipe, ductwork, refrigeration, hydronic systems, and that's what keeps all these data centers cool. So that's what got me thinking after we talked about it, and it's like, I could start a consulting business, and it's low capital to launch, low risk. You're not carrying a lot of overhead. It's not necessarily a very exciting business, but it's something. And after we talked, and you were, like you said, start thinking big. It's like, well, what if I wasn't restricted in my thinking, and what would I go do? It's like, well, I want to do mechanical. That's what I've done my whole career. That's what I enjoy. It's what I have my experience. So now you fast forward, we go from a concept of maybe a consulting agency to now with Javelin, it's a full scale, fully capable mechanical contracting business.
All started right behind us on a fire pit conversation with lots of alcohol. And being smoked out by a real fire pit late at night.
Yeah.